Salutations, fellow kings and queens. Welcome back to the Electric Leaf. Today I'm going to be showing you all how I made my gluten-free, meat-free, cheese-free, dairy-free, but definitely not taste-free lasagna. Yeah, and it's Dr. Sebi approved for those of you who love to eat on the Dr. Sebi list. Everything from scratch with this recipe, including the tomato sauce and the noodles. So I just started with a few basic ingredients that you see here. No recipe, this just came straight from my heart, spirit, and a desire to eat some banging lasagna while still maintaining my alkaline goals. So we're going to start right here with these red potatoes that have been baked in the oven. Taking about 3 to 4 large red potatoes, putting them into the blender with half a cup of either coconut cream or coconut milk. Blend with some onion powder and sea salt, and look at that consistency. This is my favorite cheese sauce. If you don't want to use the potato, you can peel and bake some zucchini. It won't be as creamy as it is with the potato, but it will still give you a nice creamy cheese. I have also started using this creamy deliciousness as one of my cheese in my new nut-free mac and cheese recipe. Well, it does still incorporate coconut milk, but that could be switched out if need be. But oh my goodness, my family does not believe that I am not using regular cheese for my new mac and cheese recipe. If you want to see it, please let me know. I'm starting here by roasting these cherry tomatoes that I picked up at the farmer's market, one of my favorite places to shop. So I'm just laying them out on a piece of aluminum foil, and then I am going to coat them with a little bit of grapeseed oil, salt, and a few seasonings that are on Dr. Sebi's list, and I'm going to put them in the oven until they start to wrinkle. I'm going to use these tomatoes in our tomato sauce that we're going to make from scratch. Now that the tomatoes are in the oven, I am prepping these peppers and onions to go in a pan to cook for a little while. They are also going to go in our tomato sauce. Into the pan they go with a little bit of grapeseed oil and a little bit of salt and onion powder. Next, we're prepping our meat. So I'm going to chop up these mushrooms, and then if you see over there to the left, I have some roasted sun-dried tomatoes and some pumpkin seeds and walnuts. These mushrooms are going to go in the blender at different times to create different textures of the mushroom. This adds to the texture of something like a ground turkey or ground beef. So into the Vitamix go about a cup of walnuts and a cup of pumpkin seeds. And then you see there my mushrooms. I'm putting about half of the mixture into the blender with the walnuts and the seeds. I used the plunger for this. I did not add any liquid because I want the mixture to be extremely paste-like. You see here that there are different textures in the paste now. Some of the seeds did not blend all the way down, and that's exactly how I want it. This is going to increase the texture tremendously. Believe me, just trust me. Now I'm going to add in the sun-dried tomatoes, giving them a quick little rough chop. It does not have to be anything pretty. A quick rough chop before I add them to the blender. If you choose to make modifications to this meat, I would not suggest foregoing the sun-dried tomatoes. They add so much flavor. If you need to leave out the pumpkin seeds, fine, but whatever you do, do not leave out the sun-dried tomatoes. Also, another important component of this meat mixture is that you have to put all the ingredients in the mixer at different times. Don't put everything in the mixer at the same time, or you're not going to render a hearty texture, which is extremely important if you want to enjoy this dish. Now that I've got my onions started, I'm turning my mushroom meat out into the pan with the onions, and I'm going to brown it up a bit. And here in a second, you'll see me switch spatulas because I really want to pick up the brown bits of the meat mixture from off the bottom of the pan. It really helps to add to the flavor and the texture again with this dish. Now we want to season here as well. I heavily seasoned with onion powder and a little bit of sea salt. You have to make sure you season at every level so that you can render a really good flavor on the dish, which that's a rule of thumb for most people that love to cook. You need to season at every step to make sure that you're getting the most out of your food. Look at how it's starting to resemble ground turkey or ground beef. I mean, the drier it gets, the better it gets. Look at this. Wow, you could really fool somebody right now. So back to our tomato sauce. Look at these cherry tomatoes. That's what you want them to look like. They look so good. So in the meantime, if you see my Roma tomatoes here, I have let them boil just long enough to get them soft enough to peel the skin off. I'm gonna slightly de-seed them. I'm gonna get most of the seeds out, but I'm not gonna go crazy about getting the seeds out. I just don't want the tomato sauce to be too runny, and if you leave the seeds in there, then the tomato sauce will be runny. So what you want to do is just kind of like I'm doing here, I'm just kind of you know, sticking my fingers into the tomatoes and then pulling the center out of the tomato, which is where the seeds reside, and I'm throwing it into the blender. You can use a knife for this step if you wish. This is about 4 to 5 pounds of fresh organic Roma tomatoes. Now that the tomatoes are de-seeded, I'm adding a teaspoon of salt and a tablespoon of onion powder. And then I'm going to mix it until it turns into a very smooth consistency. See how loose the mixture is even without the seeds? But it's your choice, your lasagna. So you remember the peppers and the onions that we were cooking at the beginning of the video? Yeah, we're gonna add the tomato sauce to that on the stove, and we're gonna let it cook. New step, new spice, kings and queens. New step, new spice. Make sure that you season at every step. So I'm adding 3 tablespoons of coconut sugar. If you opt to add agave instead of coconut sugar, it's not going to help to tighten it up. It's going to actually make the mixture more watery, but it's up to you. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of basil and a teaspoon of oregano. They help to make this sauce on point. Do you hear what I'm saying? I almost didn't have any sauce to put in the lasagna, and my daughter loved it too. So anytime my meat eating family loves my food, it just makes me feel all the more happy to know that yes, there are meals out there that vegans and meat eaters can happily enjoy together. The longer you let this cook, the better. This time I cooked it for an hour on the stove, but I have cooked this same recipe upwards of 8 hours. In that case, the seeds can be left in and you can blend the entire tomato. So I used a gadget for the noodles. I am a gadget girl. I love gadgets. I used a mandolin for this, but I also saw on LP Share's page here on YouTube that she has a pasta maker, and I'm going to be getting me one of those as well. But this time, for these gluten-free noodles, I'm using a zucchini, and I'm using the mandolin slicer to give me my lasagna layers. Now you see that little black piece over there to the right that looks like the bowler hat from Meet the Robinsons? Yes, use that so that you don't cut your hand and slice your thumb the way that I did. Yeah, I sliced my thumb. I know to use that piece. I just got a little bit ahead of myself. Okay, now back to this sauce. This sauce though, yo. This sauce. You know I got the sauce. You know I'm saucy. And it's always... Okay. Anyway, this sauce was so good right here. It was so delicious. And so at this point, I'm adding in the cherry tomatoes that we roasted. I'm adding them into the sauce. I'm going to let them cook a little bit. And yeah, it's going to be the bomb. It is. You can use this sauce as a base for any of your pasta dishes. You can leave out the Italian seasonings and let it be the base to your chili, the base to a soup, whatever. It is so good when you just take your time with it and let it cook, let it do its thing. Alright, so now that all the work is done, it is time for the fun part, the assembly. I'm using a small pan here, but I made sure that the pan that I chose was deep. You want to make sure that the pan is deep so that you can fit all your delicious, flavorful layers in this dish. I'm starting with just a little bit of sauce. Now, traditionally, the sauce is used to keep the pasta layers from sticking to the bottom, but we are using zucchini noodles, and we did just make this sauce by hand. So if you want to, you can start with just putting a layer of zucchini at the bottom. The zucchini is filled with so much water that it's not going to stick to the bottom of the pan. Now, as I'm layering my zucchini noodles, you see how I am turning them so that they cover the sauce. That's how I'm going to do the entire pan. I'm going to make sure that my zucchini layers overlap so that my layers hold up well together when they bake. My layers even held up very well in the freezer after I finished baking it and I ate a few pieces. I sliced this baby up and put it in individual bags, and I put it in the freezer. So I was very, very pleased with this recipe. I'm very pleased. So you can layer however you want to. At this point, you can either go for another layer of zucchini or you can go with the sauce. I chose to go with the sauce because you know I'm saucy. Okay, I've really got to listen to Rihanna when I'm done with this. But yeah, so I went ahead and put my sauce on top of our meat crumbles. Doesn't it look meaty? And it's alkaline. And it's soy-free and preservative-free. What? Gardein crumbles ain't got nothing on this. for my favorite layer, the cheese sauce. I wish I still had some of this lasagna left. I really do. Oh my goodness, making this video is making me want to make another pan of lasagna like right now. Oh my goodness, that cheese though, oh my goodness. If you use the zucchini, it'll be good, but it won't be as good as it is if you use a potato. I mean, you know, that's just my opinion. I've made cheese with both. I like the zucchini cheese more with like in place of an Alfredo, but this potato cheese is more, it's just so hearty and it really holds up well when you bake the lasagna. So as you can see, the pan is filled to the brim right now. So I'm packing everything down and getting the top as flat as possible so that I have room to add the cheese, the last layer of cheese. This is so important. When it bakes, it really bakes as if you topped it with a mozzarella cheese or something. I really hope you guys try this, and I really hope you guys like it. It's not the easiest or the quickest thing to make, but I promise you guys, it is so worth it, especially for those of us out here who are eating with a family who is not plant-based. This is a great way to help your family or your friends be introduced to an alkaline lifestyle. This is a great dish to present to them for their to help motivate them to transition into eating a more plant-based lifestyle. So from here, it's going to go in the oven for 25 minutes on 350. And I'm telling you, you're going to really be surprised at the way this dish comes out of the oven. Now, once you finish baking it, you're going to want to start digging in now, but it's not the best thing to do. You're going to want to let it rest and let the lasagna cool so that your layers can hold up. Now, when I cut my lasagna, it was mostly cool, wasn't all the way cool. I let it cool for about 45 minutes and the layers still slid a little, but they slid, but they were good. Now, once I had put it in the refrigerator and let it sit, then the layers stuck together. So that's just a little heads up for you. Now look at it. Look at this cheese on the top though. Look at this cheese on the top though. You could even broil it, but I couldn't broil this particular pan. But you could even broil it and get even more of a brown on top of the cheese. I'm telling you, look at these layers. You know, I really put my love into this one. I really put my enjoyment into this one. So I really hope that you enjoy it too. Until the next time I see you all, let me know some of the things that you all are cooking, and let me know some of the things that you guys might want me to veganize and alkalize for you so that we can come together and keep growing and building our community. Until then, much love to you all, and vibrate love and vibrate well. Blessings.